Here we go. What is going on? Welcome back to the show. Hope everybody is good. I'm always good, and today we're diving back into that lab because I could not do a off season without at least scouting one of my favorite wide receivers coming out of this draft. It's Jalen McMillan, Washington Huskies, now Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we saw what he was able to do so far this preseason. He is an absolute stellar prospect, and I've always been a fan of his. And I do like the potential that he does have in this offense with a Mike Evans, with a Chris Godwin, not only to school him up in a lot of, technical categories, but what he could potentially be in the NFL. I mean, the scouting reports never end. And I mean, fantasy football is just around the corner. So let's talk a little Jalen McMillan, Washington Huskies, now Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It is unfortunate when some players don't receive a lot of attention because of the teammates they did have on their rosters, with a Polk, with a Roma Dunzier, but Jalen McMillan is definitely one of these cats that you got to keep tabs on because I believe he's already earned that wide receiver 3 role in Tampa Bay, and he will showcase his abilities in a very big way. Let's talk about the team that drafted him. First, we're talking Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like I already mentioned, round 3, pick 29. Okay, and the Buccaneers definitely did, showcase the ability with a Baker Mayfield, rejuvenated his career here in Tampa Bay, able to force feed a Mike Evans. Rashad White definitely showed the fact that he's a big, playmaking threat in the open field in the pass game. Maybe not as much in the running upside. He still has abilities, but I do love him in the open field more than I do from the backfield. But Chris Godwin, he was absolutely reliable in this offense as well, even though we didn't see the TD upside be on full display. But you got others like Raheem Jarrett. He's dealing with an injury right now. Trey Palmer, there was a lot of, upside for a lot of these, scouts to suggest Trey Palmer could be that slot guy they're looking for, the third wide receiver role they're looking for. Sign themselves Sterling Shepard. Cephas Johnson, the third, Ryan Miller, and then Webb. Rounding out the rest of this wide receiver core. So there is not a whole heck of a lot for McMillan to jump in this, depth outside of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin being the staples in this offense to be the pass catchers. Tampa Bay's looking for that, sure-handed, reliable threat that they can utilize all over the field. And the versatility in a McMillan definitely is going to be showcased a lot. We saw already that one great catch, put it on display, got everybody to know his name. I knew McMillan a long time ago and was a big fan at Washington. But, now with these Buccaneers, I think there is absolute great potential this year, even for fantasy football, to suggest that we could potentially later on down the season have a flex opportunity on matchup play when it comes to this rookie wide receiver. He's loaded with talent for days, and he's got lots of ability. How are these Buccaneers going to move in this weaker NFC South? Can they repeat what they're doing? Can they continue to progress that much further with a Baker Mayfield? We will see, but I do believe the Bucs scored themselves an absolute gem here in the late third round, and he will pay extreme dividends. But let's talk about the measurables. As always, 6'1", 197. He is only 22 years of age, played in 38 contests, 164 receptions, 2143 in yards, 13.1 on the average, and 17 receiving touchdowns. So you see, even with guys like Michael Penix Jr., he was able to support all 3 of these wide receivers. And when McMillan was on the field, yes, he dealt with some injury history. I'll deal with that in the cons. But he is one of these guys that was Mr. Reliable so many times over the middle for a Penix, and he was able to get him the football a lot and showcase the fact of what he's able to do on the field. I'm a big supporter, big fan. He's a secondary wide receiver that could turn into an absolute steal for these Tampa Bay Buccaneers if they ever decide to move on from somebody like a Chris Godwin. He could fill in that role potentially very well, and I'm a big fan. But let's talk those pros. As always, good size and frame. I'm a huge fan of it. 6'1", to almost 200. He's leaner and lankier than you think, so he appears taller and able to take up more space. Tape speed is very good. Even though the 40 time was 4.47, I still believe in that tape speed. It's very deceptive because he is lanky. Build-up speed is definitely there, and he's got more than enough to get down the field. There is no qualms for that for me as well. I do believe he can absolutely get past guys. Even if they're on their hip, he understands how to at least somewhat generate separation, but he is very good in that route tree as well. Sudden turn-up, yak ability. This is what makes him special. When you get the football in his hand, it's almost like the Rashad White type of situation, even though White's a running back. I do believe that White, when you give him the football in the open field in that pass game, he is able to make plays a lot more than he is from the running back side of from the backfield. So I think that in this sense, when you're talking about McMillan, you want to recreate the run in the pass as well. I think there is a lot of good, ability in the yak, and when he does catch the football, especially on those drags, the hooks, and he turns upfield, you're going to see exactly what I'm talking about. He can run away from some of these defenders. Solid route runner, man. The great fakes, the cuts. He's able to at least put his defensive back on skates just a little bit, do a little head bob shake, and the footwork is nice in that respect. Decisive plant steps, and I mean, he can absorb contact and still turn upfield. This is what you're looking for. So while he is just under 200 pounds, I don't believe he's almost 6'2", but 6'1" and a little bit, but I do believe it's a bigger size than what it does, showcase on the measurables because he is lankier. His body frame, bigger torso, maybe that's what it is. But I mean, the decisive plant steps to absorb this contact with the ability that he does have absolutely is on point. Natural hand catcher. You don't see a lot of drops from a McMillan. He will be there. I mean, if the pass is in his vicinity, he's definitely going up to at least, try and attempt to make that grab with that great arm extension like we saw in that preseason game on that sideline toss. You didn't see it. Definitely go check that one out. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This isn't something new. He does this with high levels of consistency. Did this with high levels of consistency. Back with the Huskies. Definitely has got that capability to extend his arms, make plays, and make extremely sound acrobatic catches, man. He can play inside, can play outside. There is no question in that as well for me. So this gives you the versatility aspect where you can put him outside, you can switch him with a Chris Godwin inside, and you can mix and match based on your matchups and then be that, good open wide receiver for a Baker Mayfield. That's what you're looking for. Give Baker a few more targets to throw to outside of Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin because they were force-feeding a Mike Evans last year, but definitely playing inside-outside with the versatility is definitely something we got to keep tabs on because he is going to be able to do both. He could be this biggest slot killer in the NFL, and this is what you're looking for as well. A guy who is extremely reliable, not afraid to go over the middle, not afraid to take punishment, and still, challenge for these receptions and these passes to come his way. I'm a big fan, and I think that, he can absolutely dominate the slot based on his size, based on the wheels that he does possess. He's not a field burner, but the tape speed definitely does showcase better than what he is. Like I'm saying, he's definitely not afraid to go over the middle, take contact, see the safeties or the linebackers come in to give him punishment, and he's still holding on to the football. Very good contested catcher. And it's just the MO. You watch his film and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Likewise with that preseason game. Yeah, it was only one catch, but I mean, it's a good catch, and he's able to do it. He's going to fight for these footballs. He understands, window opportunities on where to place his body to at least attempt to come down with the football, and he does very well. Career year was 2022, 79 receptions for 1098 and 9 touchdowns, but playing with guys like Polk and Roma Dunzier, you have to understand there was limited target share most of the time, and he was still able to ball out for y'all. But for some cons, everybody's got him. He's got him as well. Like I said, he benefited from a Dunzier and a Polk, and it's no different in Tampa Bay. So only reason why I got it more of a statement than a con, is he ever going to be a wide receiver one in this league? Probably not. I'll put the stamp on that right now. But he's got so much ability to be a fantastic secondary wide receiver that benefiting from guys like a Dunzier and Polk is a part of his game, and now he gets to play with the likes of a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin to open up room and, space for him to gallop through, make these catches, and it should be very similar to what we saw with the Huskies. So this is it's a statement rather than a con because I don't believe he's ever going to be a wide receiver one, but I had to put this one somewhere. Breakaway wheels, definitely not elite, but he's got more than enough to get down the field. You're never going to be asking him to burn past, defensive backs, cut up the safeties in the open field. Not necessarily going to be part of his game, but he's one of these guys got more than enough juice in the Jets that he's going to be able to make enough plays and get in the yak game, no question. He will benefit from adding a little bit more muscle mass. You want to see him at the 205, 208 range, and I think that would benefit him greatly, especially on the press, because it could be a concern, especially when he's playing outside. He does struggle at times on the outside to gain that separation, especially off the line when they're jamming him up, get him, off balance. You want to see him at least absorb that contact, whether in the open field he's good at absorbing contact. Off the line, you do see him struggle from time to time. So, I mean, adding more muscle mass to beat off that press, I think is going to be absolutely beneficial. Get that weight up, maybe another 5 to 8 pounds, muscle mass, pure muscle mass, and I think think, he's going to be very good to be that versatile weapon on the outside. Slot releases, he's going to roam free, man. I think that if you put him in the slot, that's what I'm saying, he's going to be an absolute slot killer in the NFL, and I think that MO is definitely going to be part of his game, man. He needs to perfect his speed manipulation on his route tree. I think that's one thing that I did notice. Even though he is a sound route runner, is he elite in trend? I'm going to say at this point, no, but he's very good at it. But if he understands when to gear up, gear down, I think this will benefit his game that much more. While he doesn't have necessarily that, elite burst in his speed in his first step, I do believe the speed is definitely there enough. But if he perfects how he does his speed manipulation, I think this is going to inhibit greater opportunity for him to gain separation over the middle, and I think this is just a work in progress technical issue. He will learn from the likes of Mike Evans and Chris Godwin to be that guy if he does perfect that. He does have injury history, and this is an issue. He did miss quite a few contests at Washington. Ankle injury in 2021 he had a hand injury, and then 2023 was dealing with that MCL sprain, did miss quite a bit of time. So there is concerns in that respect on durability. How durable will he be taking on all that punishment? But I'm a big fan. I think that he is so good, and I think, where he was drafted, I think it was fair, but based on his capabilities, based on what he could potentially be with these Buccaneers, he is a very sound prospect. But for grading purposes, like I'm saying, I'm a huge fan. I'm a big supporter. 75.9% is where I got him at as we sit today. And I think the needle is moving definitely in the right direction. There is potential for him to take over a, substantial role if Godwin or Evans do ever move on. He could be a fixture in this Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense, but he's got some growing he's got to do. He's got some refining he's got to do. That's likewise with any rookie coming in the NFL, but they definitely got themselves somebody who can make a lot of plays in that secondary role, and I think they're going to utilize him quite a bit here in 2024. If they don't, I think they're going to be outside of him, I'm going to say it this way, outside of him not progressing properly, I think it's a grave disservice if these Tampa Bay Buccaneers do not make him a fixture in this offense. So there you have it. That is Jalen McMillan, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, former Washington Huskies product, wide receiver. He's one of my dudes, quote unquote, because I've been a huge fan for a very long time, and I am looking forward to seeing what he's able and capable of to do on this field here in 2024 and thereafter, no question. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me your thoughts. Tampa Bay Buc fans, what do you think of Jalen McMillan? You in, you out, you like him, you dislike him, throw it in the comments. We can definitely talk it out, but we'll see you next time. I am out.